My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best.
A murder row, row being an argument, boils. It's used to describe extreme anger.
Yeah, and although this is a very short and dramatic word, which, as we know, headline writers love, we can use this in our everyday English.
We can. I mean, in the headline it's used in the present simple tense. We can use it to say, but we often use it in the continuous tense to describe a very angry feeling.
Yeah.
So we can say he was boiling with anger or boiling with rage.
Yeah.
And it's an intensifier to describe anger and rage.
Like when you stole my coffee. I was boiling with fury.
Well, no, you weren't I was boiling with anger when I discovered that you'd broken my coffee cup, Neil.
Let's not go back to tit for tat.
Tit for tat will happen.
Our next headline, we have blasts.
Yes, or blasts, is my pronunciation.
Shall we model that again?
Yeah.
Shall I say it? Blasts.
Blasts.
And what's the difference?
I'm from the north and you're from the south.
And that's the end of it.
That's the end of that. Right, so let's go to the headline. The Telegraph. North Korea bans Malaysians from leaving country as Prime Minister blasts Pyongyang for holding citizens hostage.
Yes, blasts meaning criticises strongly. Now, it can look like there are lots of different meanings of the word blast.
You can use it in lots of different situations. You can blast music if you turn up the volume really loud. You can say you're blasting your music. We can use it to describe hot air from your hairdryer. You know, blast of hot air.
An explosion.
Yes.
A bomb blast.
Yep. And the common thing that all of these have is power and force. And we're using it here to describe, in this headline, Prime Minister blasts Pyongyang. It's talking about the force of the Prime Minister's anger, the Malaysian Prime Minister's anger.
And this particular use in this headline is quite journalistic, isn't it? It's something we'd be unlikely to use in our everyday speech, although we can use the word blast.
We can. We'd be unlikely to say that Neil blasted, or Catherine blasted Neil for stealing her coffee. But we can use it in other situations, you know, in the blast of music, a blast of hot air. Yeah.
It's also got a very positive meaning to describe a fun situation.
Oh, yes, the Christmas party.
The Christmas party, that was a blast.
We had a blast.
We really had a blast.
We did. I still got the photographs to prove it.
No, we're not going back to tit for tat. We've covered that, thank you. Now, before we recap on the words we've looked at today, of course, we have our Facebook challenge. We've heard the word boil today, meaning angry, and we've got 3 more boil expressions. Which one of them means angry? Now, we put that question on Facebook, and the options were A, go off the boil, B, can't boil an egg, or C, make someone's blood boil. So which of those means angry?
Okay, so we had good response, and interestingly, this expression, the correct answer, actually has a similar meaning in quite a few different countries. So Joel Sanchez told us they have a similar expression in Mexico. Cara Luna told us it's nearly the same in Germany. The answer is actually C. So well done to Hafsa Kalsum and everybody who said answer C. To make someone's blood boil is the correct answer.
Did it make your blood boil when I stole your coffee?
My blood is still boiling now, Neil, and I will have my revenge.
Oh, no. Well, if you would like to test yourself on today's vocabulary, there's a quiz you can take on our website. That's bbclearningenglish.com, where you can find all sorts of other videos and activities to help you improve your English. Thank you for joining us, and do join us again. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
News Review. Hello and welcome to News Review, the programme where we show you how to use the language from the latest news stories in your everyday English. Hi, I'm Neil. Joining me is Catherine. Hello, Catherine.
Hello, Neil.
So what's our story?
Story this week, Neil, is about a return to the moon, which is going to happen next year.
A return to the moon next year. Wow, that's interesting. Let's find out some more from this BBC World Service report.
Humans last traveled into deep space 45 years ago when Apollo 17 became the last manned trip to the moon back in 1972. This announcement by SpaceX of a manned trip to circumnavigate the moon next year caught most observers off guard. It's an incredibly ambitious timetable because at this point the company hasn't even launched a human being into space.
So it's 45 years since human beings last went to the moon, but it's going to happen soon. In fact, next year a company is planning to send some people to the moon once again.
Incredible. Space tourism. You've been scanning the news websites for this story, and what are the words that you found that people are using to talk about it?
Yeah, we've got 3 words: mission, venture, and manned.
Mission, venture, and manned. So that first one, mission, how's that appearing in the headlines?
Okay, so we'll go to the Guardian news website, and we have SpaceX to send 2 people around the moon who paid for a 2018 mission. So some strange grammar there, but we're looking at the vocabulary, in particular, mission.
And mission here meaning quite simply a flight into space.
Yeah, absolutely. It means a journey. It could be a mission is an adventurous, dangerous journey, in this case into space, yeah.
Yeah, and it has many other meanings around that, hasn't it?
Yeah.
For example, we could talk about a mission being a military operation.
Yes, if an army sends some soldiers into a difficult or dangerous territory for some reason, that journey is called a mission.
And that specific task.
The task itself is a mission, yes.
Also, we can use it to describe a particular aim, like it's my mission to give up smoking or something.
Could do, yes, or if you're trying to find something or get something, so that concert's coming up and there's no tickets left, you've tried every website you can think of, and you can't get a ticket for the concert, but you're determined to get one. It's your mission.
Yes, and you can use that quite informally, an expression to be on a mission.
Yeah, I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to get those tickets.
Yeah. And of course, there's the probably original meaning, the religion.
My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best.
It's the TED Radio Hour from NPR.
Flick to link, link to flick.
And on the show today, ideas about speaking up. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so my name is Isra, and I am from Bahrain.
Esra asked us not to use her last name because she's a human rights activist who still lives there. And Bahrain, it's the kind of place where people generally do not speak up.
I mean, the culture definitely advocated that, you finish school, you go to university, you get married, you have a job, you build something, people will support you, as long as what you build is not controversial.
And in a place like Bahrain, speaking up can be dangerous.
I hear about my friend who was arrested or someone who was tortured in prison, and I realize this is really not a game. It's a life and death situation. A lot of people get persecuted for their tweets alone, so it is very scary.
And exactly what Esra does, she explained that on the TED stage. But before we get into this, I should mention that to protect her identity, Esra's TED Talk was not filmed. It's actually not available anywhere online, except for here, right now. So here she is.
I was always outspoken throughout my youth, particularly in school, but this was an environment in which you couldn't really be heard. You were encouraged to be invisible and silent so as not to interrupt your daily routine. But being silent wasn't for me. I became increasingly involved in human rights advocacy, not just because it's the obvious thing to do as someone who seeks social justice, but also because I'm queer. This is the part where you clap. But you'll understand why I mentioned this. But being queer made me understand and experience the trauma of being truly powerless and invisible in our society. I was in denial for a very long time about my sexuality. I was overcome with fear and shame for being queer, and I had to secretly hold on to this burden for the majority of my life because I still live in a society that violently discriminates against us and shames us for who we are. In Bahrain, homosexuality is a punishable offense. Verbal and physical abuse against the LGBT community is normalized by the government and encouraged by religious leaders. But in my my early teens, I came across a powerful weapon, the internet. In a place where all media was state-sponsored, where censorship and surveillance was the norm, the internet offered a unique space for
Radio Hour from NPR.
Hello.
Sandy, this is Guy Raz.
Hello, Guy. How are you?
Of the program. And this is Sandy Toksvig, and she's a comedian.
San Franciscan people, they love to talk about their feelings, don't they?
Yeah.
I learned not to ask the waitress at the breakfast how she was, because she would tell me. When a British person says, how are you, they don't want to know. It's awkward.
And intrusive, right? Yeah.
Yes, I don't want to know. I can't deal with it.
Sandy's been a fixture on TV and radio in the UK for more than 20 years, starting with a British children's series in the 80s called Number 73. Sandy was also a regular on all kinds of comedy shows like Call My Bluff, Mock the Week, and Whose Line Is It Anyway?
You've got a little bird on your shoulder.
These days, Sandy's the host of a BBC show called QI.
Well, QI stands for quite interesting, and it's full of information that you go, really? I didn't know that. Here are some new names for things, but can you tell me what any of them are?
Al Desco is having your lunch.
Having a lunch at your desk.
A belfie. I can't remember what a belfie is. It's something
Belfie is where you take a selfie, but you have a bell.
No, it is a selfie, but what of? What part of you is a belfie?
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what Sandy does in front of the camera, but off screen, she's had a slightly more serious role as a political activist. And it all started with something that happened back in 1994 when Sandy came out publicly.
And there wasn't a single out gay woman in British public life. I was already on television then and on the radio and so on. And I just thought, this is not right. I have nothing to be ashamed of.
But it turned out a lot of other people didn't feel the same way. Because remember, this was in the early 1990s. Sandy picks up the story from the TED stage.
Everybody has inside themselves what I call an activation button, okay? It's the button that gets pressed when you think, I must do something about this. Now, it gets pressed for all sorts of reasons. So, I was born gay, okay? I've always known. I don't think my family were the least bit surprised. So my activation button was pressed when I had my kids born to my then partner. So I decided to come out. Everybody warned me that I would never work again, but I decided it was absolutely worth the risk. Well, it was hell. In Britain, we have a particularly vicious section of the right-wing press, and they went nuts. And their hatred stirred up the less stable elements of society, and we got death threats, enough death threats that I had to take the kids into hiding, and we had to have police protection. And I promise you there were many moments in the still of the night when I was terrified by what I had done.
But Sandy found that even in those moments of darkness, sometimes the way that she found the light was to just laugh about it.
When we laugh out loud and we realize that there are others who think the same as us, then we feel better, and maybe it encourages us to keep going and not just sit at home and lock the door and think, I'm not coming out till this is over.
On the show today, painfully funny. Ideas about why humor is often the most powerful tool we have in dealing with pain, crisis, and the general chaos that life throws our way. For Sandy Toksvig, humor was just sort of a way to make sense of things.
Well, there was a really long period of time when if the newspapers ever referred to me, even if I was talking about, I don't know, cake making, they would put lesbian Sandy Toksvig, and I thought, wow, I don't really see how that's relevant, but okay. Yeah, you become the go-to spokesperson. Although, again, we talked about British feelings for a very long period of time. Nobody really wanted to talk about it. They were so horrified that I had been so upfront about it. So, in a way, I sort of wasn't asked any questions at all, because they were appalled that somebody was not only out, had children, and all the children seemed to have, just one head each and be perfectly happy. It was a mystery to them all. I have to tell you that my kids had a most marvellous time having two mums. When my daughter was at university, she got flu, and both mums rushed to be with her, and we were both looking after her and making soup and tidying up, and one of her friends came in and went, 2 mums, not fair. Because it was just way better.
Did it have a negative effect on your career at all for any period of time?
Sure. I lost work for sure, and was told that I couldn't possibly host certain shows, and that it wouldn't be appropriate.
I wonder whether, you described what happened after you came out, and this long period of fear, and obviously it must have been quite painful to endure that. How were you able to withstand it?
It was tough. If you get death threats, trust me, it's not fun. But you have to stand for the things that you believe in. You have to stay strong inside. And I don't know how else you do it. I love I bought a T-shirt when I was last in America that said, "I stand on the right side of history," and you have to believe that. I genuinely believe that equality for everybody is better for the whole of society.
So after coming out and then dealing with everything that came with that, Sandy's activation button was pressed again in 2015. This time, for women's rights.
We decided to found a brand new political party, because here's the critical thing. The one place women and men are absolutely equal is at the ballot box. Okay? Now, we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know how complicated it was.
My photo taste is the Pinterest, because they are the best.
A murder row, row being an argument, boils. It's used to describe extreme anger.
Yeah, and although this is a very short and dramatic word, which, as we know, headline writers love, we can use this in our everyday English.
We can. In the headline it's used in the present simple tense. We can use it to say, but we often use it in the continuous tense to describe a very angry feeling.
Yeah.
So we can say he was boiling with anger or boiling with rage.
Yeah.
And it's an intensifier to describe anger and rage.
Like when you stole my coffee. I was boiling with fury.
Well, no, you weren't I was boiling with anger when I discovered that you'd broken my coffee cup, Neil.
Let's not go back to tit for tat.
Tit for tat will happen.